They are the Dick Turpins of the information superhighway, fraudsters and hackers who invade computer systems for the purposes of blackmail or sheer cyber vandalism. And their work is on the increase, according to a report by the spending watchdog, the Audit Commission. The Commission says nearly half of all organisations in the public and private sectors are affected, yet many don't bother to take even the most basic precautions.
The men here are working in the technological equivalent of an isolation ward. Their task to tackle some of the 15,000 viruses that corrupt or destroy computer programs. According to the Audit Commission, these unwelcome invaders are the most common form of computer abuse experienced by organisations across the public and private sector. Though often crude and unsophisticated, they can do thousands of pounds worth of damage, and some are more persistent than others.
There are a hardcore of 10 or 20 or 30 viruses that appear over and over and over again, including viruses like Form, for example, which is at least 7 or 8 years old. So once released, once in the wild, it's very hard to get a virus back in the box.
Experts say that hooking up to the internet has made organisations much more vulnerable to fraud and abuse.
If your company computer system is poorly secured, then almost anybody anywhere in the world can get inside. Once they're there, they can destroy your system, industrial sabotage, they can steal your secrets, industrial espionage, or they might even be able to commit a fraud.
Nearly all organisations are becoming more dependent on computers. The health service and local government between them spend £1.5 billion a year on information technology. But the Audit Commission says that while safeguards are in place, many managers still don't take the threat of computer abuse seriously.
Senior management may be afraid of the unfamiliar, but actually people shouldn't be afraid of computers. Many of the steps which need to be taken are not very complex.
The Commission says the effect of computer viruses cost on average £1,700 a computer to put right, while an effective antivirus software can work out at just £25. John Andrew, BBC News.
Our reporter Kerry Johnson is at the Internet Cafe in Birmingham. Morning, Kerry.
Yes, good morning. We're at the NetPlay Cafe here, where hundreds of people pop in each week to have a go on the internet, most for perfectly legitimate reasons, but there are a few who are perhaps stretching the technology a little further than some organisations would wish. Now, Matthew Bevan, you were wanted by the FBI, weren't you? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it was a joint investigation by Scotland Yard, the FBI, and some very other departments of US intelligence, just because I hacked into some very sensitive US Air Force bases in the United States. I didn't cause any harm, but through the investigations they were led to believe that I was a Russian spy. So obviously that implicated me at a much higher level than would have been normally. Obviously, after a lot of investigation and a lot of legal battles, I was acquitted of all the charges and have gone on to set up a company called Tiger Computer Security.
So how easy is it to actually hack into systems like this?
As far as I'm concerned, it is very easy. There's so much complacency which is around in the computer industry. IT managers take for granted that their systems are uncrackable, which is clearly not the case.
Let's bring in Bruce Tober here. You mentioned those IT managers. Are they taking it seriously enough at the moment?
No. One of the biggest complaints about IT managers is very simply that they take software off the shelf, install it with the default passwords and setups, which are defaulted in the way they are, so that if they have a problem with it, the publishing company that publishes that software can access the software.
So what sort of problems does this actually cause companies?
Hackers know the defaults, so they know the entrance ways into these pieces of software. They know the standard passwords. There are software programs that are entire dictionaries of standard passwords.
Does this mean that people's companies' data just disappears, or what?
It can disappear, it can be corrupted.
Right. What about if you're at home and you've got a personal computer? Do you have anything to worry about?
You face very much the same problem. If you go on the net and visit websites, your software that you visit those websites with, your browser, exchanges a piece of text that contains various bits of information about who you are, what site you're visiting, and what you're doing at that
So what
site.
precautions can you actually take?
That piece of text is called a cookie. Most good browsers allow you to turn off the cookie. Just disable it.
Is there anything that companies can actually do, though, to stop this from happening?
I'm sorry, what do you mean?
Can companies do anything to prevent hackers going in and doing these things?
Oh, yeah. There's 4 things, basically. Never assume that your security precautions are any good. They're always bound to fail. The second thing is make certain to obtain and use the strongest possible encryption available. Encryption is used for 4 purposes.
Right, we're going to have to stop you there, I'm
Yeah.
afraid. We've just
Okay.
run out of time. I'll have to hand you back to Andrew in the studio.